This is the BBC.
Hi, I'm Hugh Dennis, and just before you revel in today's podcast from the BBC, I want to tell you about the BBC Radio 4 Christmas Appeal with St Martin in the Fields. Each year, the appeal helps thousands of people experiencing homelessness to take their first steps back to a safe and secure place to live. If you're homeless, the journey back happens one tentative step at a time. It's not just a matter of food, shelter and work. It's small gestures of listening, encouragement, thoughtfulness and seeing people for who they are that make such a big difference. Through the small act of making a donation to the Christmas Appeal, you can make a big difference for people right across the UK. You can make a donation by going to the Radio 4 website. Now, please enjoy this peerless podcast from the BBC.
Why, hello there. Welcome back. I'm Sindhu Vee, and you're listening to the Comedy of the Week podcast. So let me tell you a joke that my mother told me recently. And I'm going to tell you in my mother's voice because, well, that's her voice. And if I said what she said to me in my voice, it would just be so weird. Right, so here we go. So, you see, there is one man who went to top of mountain to find the wise Guruji to ask his help in furthering his life purposes. And when he found the wise Guruji, he saw that Guruji is sitting very seriously, probably in one meditation pose. And so he sat next to Guruji making very little noise because he was a patient and decent fellow. And, Mummy, can we just get to the joke, please? See, you are neither patient nor decent. Anyway, so Guruji opened eyes and asked, "What do you want?" And man said, "Guruji, I have only one question. Please tell me. You see, I know that to further my life in self-delight..." Mummy, what is self-delight? Hey, just shut up and listen. "To further my life in self-delight, I must understand fully all my mistakes and rectify them." Ma, I think you mean rectify. I said rectify. What's wrong with you? All right, fine, rectify. Let's go. All right. "I must understand all my mistakes and rectify them. But Guruji, problem is, how will I know what are all my mistakes?" So then Guruji said, "Is that all? No problem. Just go home and find your spouse or life partner and tell to them one small criticism of them. Immediately you will get full list of all your mistakes, your mother's mistakes, your father's mistakes, and your friend's mistakes." Now here's the thing. This is a joke told by an 80-year-old Indian lady sitting in the US, she's visiting my sister, via her daughter who lives in the UK, yours truly, to you, wherever you are listening to this podcast. And that's the beauty of humor. Wherever in the world you are, you know it when you see it. Which is exactly what this week's Comedy of the Week is all about. It's called Welcome to Wherever You Are. And Andrew Maxwell is the presenter. And here's Andrew.
Ta-da!
Hey, Andrew. Welcome to the Comedy of the Week podcast.
Thank you.
Now, before we go to the show, I wanted to ask you just one question. I live in the UK, I gig here, but sometimes I also gig abroad in India a fair amount. And sometimes people ask me, they say, do you change your material for your audience when you're in India? Has making the series taught you stuff about how material translates?
Well, I think I've gigged all over the world as well. You can only joke about what people know. It was years ago. I was in Brooklyn in America, and I was invited by a mate of mine to do a gig on the black circuit because there is a stunning amount of cultural separation in America amongst ethnic groups and races and everything else. And I've done in brackets black gigs here in the UK. And that means most people are black. But then there's Asian people, there's white people, friends and family.
They're called urban gigs, aren't they?
Yeah, or whatever, you know what I mean? There is, it can be, but this was, I was literally the only white person there. And I was
with this accent.
Yeah, I was doing material about being Irish, right? Which I've been using at the other gigs in New York. None of it. I thought there was references about U2, nothing. Guinness, no. Irish cops, right? Nothing. Just nothing. And I was like, well, what do you know about Irish people? And this guy went, Lucky Charms.
Oh.
That was it. And they were like, I mean, I'm dying at this gig.
God,
they're like,
leprechauns.
People were like, say it, man. Say it. And I'm like, pardon? Say it. Say what the leprechauns say. So I'm just stood there on stage, just doing impressions of leprechauns. They loved it, but you got to remember, it's just a sharp example of in any situation. There's got to be, if you're an Indian comic in India, the rich levels of jokes about the caste system and the hypocrisies and twists and turns of that would be generally lost even on a second, third generation British Asian crowd.
Oh, yeah.
The real impact of it.
Yeah, because they don't live it every day.
They grew up in suburban Britain. They're not...
Yeah, and they haven't had to face it, so yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that there is sometimes the danger that you'll change your material because you think it'll be offensive in one place and not in another place. But we'll come to that later because we need to get to the show and I have so many questions about that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So now we bring you Andrew Maxwell's Welcome to Wherever You Are.
It's 10 a.m. in Sydney, it's 7 a.m. in Shanghai, and it's 4 p.m. in Los Angeles. It's 11 o'clock here in London. Welcome to wherever you are! Welcome, friends. My name's Andrew Maxwell. I'm your host. In this show, we have gathered comedians from all over our planet, and via the glory that is the internet, brought them to you right here in this studio at the BBC. I cannot tell you how many technical hitches could possibly happen. Literally, a stand-up gig is hard enough without being on Skype lines around the world. When the show was originally conceived of, the idea of this show, before Brexit. But now Brexit's happened, and in many ways, it's the perfect show for Brexit. You know what I mean? Welcome, foreigners, but stay where you are. We like you just where you are, where we can turn you off. This has never been tried before in any of their countries or any other country. So it's kind of an exciting idea, right? Yeah. They're all really nervous because they're not used to doing a gig in a cell. I don't know their criminal records, but to my knowledge, they're not used to going into a tiny egg box room and doing a gig. So they're excited. I told them I vouched for you. I said, listen, they may look dodgy, but I told them the audience is really up for it. Let's do it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just check. Ed, how is Sydney?
Ready to go.
It is exciting, isn't it? Let's be honest with ourselves. I never thought that, growing up being a scumbag on a council estate in Dublin, one day I'd be in the BBC going, let's get Sydney on the line. Ladies and gentlemen, our first comedian for this evening, live in Sydney, Australia, Alice Fraser.
Hello.
So, Alice, since Brexit, there's been a lot of soul searching here on this island, wanting to know what the rest of the world thinks of them. Can you give us an idea of how does Australia see England?
Well, you're the people we blame for all our historical atrocities.
That's a good start.
Yeah, Australians are really patriotic, but the moment you're like, massacre of Indigenous Australians, we're like, yeah, nah, that was the British. We didn't turn into Aussies until it was all meat pies and winning at cricket.
I can't believe the massacre of the Indigenous people didn't get a boo, but losing at cricket did. Australia has a reputation of being a very patriotic society. It is the only country in the world I've ever been that has pies in the shape of the country.
Yes, except for Tasmania, which is just a tiny little
The map of Tas pops
dough
up
down
another.
the bottom.
But is it? I mean, is Australia, modern Australia, as patriotic as it is sometimes perceived over here to be?
Well, I think if by patriotism you mean like unbridled enthusiasm for a barbecue,
Yeah.
then yes. We have some debate about Australia Day at the moment. I don't know if that's made it all the way over there.
No. Go on, do tell us though.
So, the discussion about it is whether we should really be making our big party day the day we showed up with ships and scurvy and an acquisitive attitude to land. It's like the perspective of a toddler towards some cake, except the cake in this instance had people living on it, and instead of having a chat, you guys decided to classify them as fauna.
Yeah, okay, all right, yeah, that doesn't sound too positive.
So some people suggest that is not the best day to have our party barbecue. The alternative would be to consider, another day, like the day we formed a federation, all the states federated and excluded New Zealand, which is heaps worth celebrating. Think about the debate as the equivalent of whether you should celebrate the day you got married or the day you gave your girlfriend Hep C.
For many of us, it's one and the same. One of the other sort of stereotypes of Australia is that it's a very macho society. And obviously, I've gigged in Australia, but I couldn't have a clear perspective on what that's like being a male comedian entertaining largely male audiences. How do you find it, Alice?
Look, let's put it this way. So I asked my dad to come to a gig once, and the MC the compere introduced me by saying, "Everybody welcome to the stage Alice Fraser. She's been around the comedy scene for a couple of years, getting round, by which I mean she's been banging all the dudes." And I did my set, and then my dad walked up from the back of the room to the stage and onto the stage and then said, "I'd like you to apologise to my daughter, please." Which is classic dad work.
Well, Alice, thanks very much for filling us in on your beautiful,
pleasure.
the lucky country and what's going on there. What do you think? Should we have Alice do some stand-up for us? Ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, I can't see you guys on the screen, so...
That's terrible.
I was just promised I'd be able to look at them and judge them.
Well, I don't know, we're having some technical difficulty. You might just have to listen to them. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome to the microphone Alice Fraser in Sydney?
I should tell you some stuff about myself. Some things you can probably tell just from looking at me. I love cage fighting. I see cage fighting as a journey towards hugs. Just two angry men that can't properly articulate their emotions. Punch, punch, grapple, grapple. I'll be Big Spoon. It's a beautiful thing. More about me is I come from a sort of weird mixed ethnic heritage, which most Australians do. My dad's side of the family is Jewish. My mum's side of the family is Irish Catholic, a couple of convicts. And they met in the late 70s, so I was born and brought up Buddhist. I'm oppressed, repressed, and depressed. It's a hard life, man. It means I have all of the stuff. I have the Jewish neuroses, I have the guilt of the Catholics, but I'm at one with it. So it's a hard life. I think I have one friend who is super, super old school, in that, I say friend, we grew up together, but now he's very right-wing, and he works as an economist, and he's a douchebag. I keep him around to pretend I'm not in a liberal bubble. We were having coffee the other day and talking about suicide statistics, because we're fun people. And he said, although women attempt suicide at higher rates than men achieve suicide at 4 times the rate of women. And he said, that's proof that men are better at getting shit done. I was like, Dave, why is that the fight you want to win? His real name isn't Dave, by the way. It's David. Dave's always talking about how women are hormonal and men are rational, because of that. He's like proper old school. He should have been a stand-up comedian in the 90s. But he's always saying, women are hormonal and men are rational. And I just think that's top-notch rubbish. Because, of course, men have hormones, right? You've just decided yours are the rational ones. Don't tell me men are not hormonal. Everything in male human history was built by boners and spite. If you do not believe that men are hormonal, go wait outside a pub on a Saturday night. Just wait for 2 men to roll out having some fist fight about some rubbish. No one ever got 3 punches into that fight and was like, no, actually, good point. pathologically consistent. I like to go up to those men outside pubs on a Saturday night and be like, oh, a bit hormonal, are we? A little bit testerical? And then you have to run, it's really important. Of course, men are hormonal. I am hormonal, you are hormonal, we are all hormonal, but I have an app. I have an app on my phone that tells me when I'm going to watch Chocolate and Cry at tissue commercials. You guys don't know why you do anything. Like, you don't know why you punched your best mate in the arm at his wedding instead of telling him you loved him. You don't know why you want to bang people you don't even like. Get an app. Thank you very much. I'm Alice Fraser.
Should we get Shanghai on the line? Yeah! Oh, I love new things. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Shanghai, Storm Shu!
Well done.
Well, welcome, buddy. Storm is a fantastic name. Is that a direct translation from Mandarin, or what's going on there?
No, not exactly. It's like the name I give to myself. I thought it just cool as hell.
I think I'll change my name to Hammer.
The thing is, like, every time I introduce myself to people, they always go, really? Your name's Storm? Don't you think your name's a little bit weird? I'm like, why? I love my name. Storm is a sexy-ass name. I like introduce myself to ladies, especially when it's raining. I like to go, yo, baby, check this out. My name's Storm, yeah? Just like what's happening outside. You're going to get really wet tonight. Oh, listen, hold on, listen, because I can't afford a cab. We're gonna walk home, that's why.
What is the stand-up scene like in China?
It's just growing, man. We have 2 different languages, which is Mandarin, which I speak natively, and English. It's both growing. Actually, this is my 3rd gig tonight. And the first pay gig.
What can you say in China? I mean, a lot of people abroad know that China is a one-party state and there's always talk of human rights. What can you say on stage?
Do you mean, can we do political jokes?
Yeah.
No. I have reason for that. Because we want to live. I'm glad you see so many people going, oh, this guy really oppressed. I mean, I'm actually doing pretty good.
You look super oppressed there. One of the other things is over here, periodically, governments in Europe, in the UK, go, our children should be learning Mandarin because it's the language of the future. Is that the opposite in China? Is it important to learn English in China? Actually,
like, UK has strong influence to China. We love the Premier League. We love speaking English now. Actually, my 4-year-old nephew, the first English sentence he ever learned is "wanger out." So
only half of them like that. But I've got a little quick question. I want to know: do you call town Chinatown? Because in Ireland we still call Irish coffee Irish coffee.
Right, that's pretty stupid.
The reason why we call it Irish coffee is because if we just called it coffee, everybody would be drunk by midday. You get nothing done.
All right, that makes sense. But I mean, over here we just call food food. We don't call Chinese food.
Ooh,
we don't say...
that is weird.
Yeah.
But have you ever eaten so-called Chinese food anywhere else in the world?
I ate in US.
And what was it like?
Panda Express. It sucked.
Yeah. My friend's dad is from Hong Kong and he opened the first Chinese restaurant in Belfast and their #1 dish was curry chips. For the people of Belfast, that was Chinese enough.
That's exactly how I imagine Belfast. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the set? Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, then without further ado, will you please welcome Storm Shu!
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Storm Xu. I live in Shanghai, China. I don't know if you know anything about Shanghai. Shanghai is as London. It's a very expensive city. And normally, like, no matter young people in London or Shanghai, we can't afford our own place, own home, own house. But I'm the different one. Here it is. Recently, I've got my own 3-bedroom apartment in downtown Shanghai. How good is that, huh? My parents moved out, that's what happened. I know. I'm not like you guys. My family loves me more. No, here's the real reason they're moving out. Because my parents having a divorce. That's why they're moving out. No, it's all right. I'm 30, they're 60. I can take that. But it seems ridiculous to me. Because they're 60. Nobody's going to be happy after divorce, I think. First of all, I'm not going to be happy. Because you ever think about this? After my parents get divorced, that means my dad's becoming single again, back onto the market. So me and him are becoming competitors now, you know? I'm not even winning because he's rich and better looking than me. What I'm gonna do, right? So in the future my biggest nightmare in the future is if I'm ever gonna be cool, charming, bring girl home. I open the door, I'm like, hey, welcome to my house. She goes, haha, Storm, I have been here before. Then she pulls out her phone. She goes, you see the Wi-Fi automatically connected? You guys are so lazy. I also, so let me tell you something about myself. Also been to some like big comedy tour recently. I also went to US for the first time. It was quite good as well. I'm sorry, let me correct myself. I went to US legally for the first time. Now, another stereotype people having about Americans, people think they're stupid, but some people are. Everywhere has stupid people, right? I met the stupidest guy ever was when I was in a bar in New York, and I was drinking with this guy, and we were getting pretty hammered, and he started to ask me questions. He's like, Storm, let me ask this. Have you ever been so pissed off and tried to punch your brother? I was like, dude, what are you talking about? I'm from China. I don't have a brother. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That's my time, Big Storm Street. Thank you very much for having me on.
Right, we are just dealing with one tiny minor technical difficulty. But plug it in, turn it off. Literally, we have turned it off and on. So our next comedian, his name's Bassem Youssef. He's not particularly well known here, but he's one of the most famous satirists on the planet. He's an amazing guy. He's one of the leading lights of the Egyptian revolution. And he got a comedy show out there and ripped the crap out of everyone. And then he had to flee the country. So that's why he's in LA. He's an amazing guy. And again, thanks for your patience, because like it's not like a normal gig. There's stuff that we don't know what's happening.
Andrew?
Yes.
He's now on the line. We're just trying to get them to switch on their video, but he can hear you now, and he can see you.
Well, good we didn't say anything negative about Egypt.
No, you leave that to me. I don't know. Can you see me? Oh, I thought this is the Western Hemisphere where the internet actually works.
No, dude, this is London. We don't even have 3G.
Dude, in Egypt we have 1G and slower case.
Well, the audience, can you see them, Bassem?
Oh, I can see them.
Yes. Lovely. A very attractive group of people, I think you'll agree. Not long for this world, but that's why they're happy.
They seem to be very nice people. I wonder how come you guys invaded all of the world? I mean, like...
These are the ones that stayed behind and were geography teachers. Now, Bassem, I don't want to blow your trumpet, but you know, I was explaining to the audience earlier, you are probably one of the most famous satirists in the world.
No.
Yes! Everybody knows you across the Arab world, and now you're making it in the States.
Yeah, Arab world, Egypt, that doesn't count for the rest of the world.
There's a lot of Egyptians everywhere, dude. My wife is Egyptian. She was, honestly, my mother-in-law's...
I'm sorry.
My mother-in-law was so proud when she found out I was interviewing you. She was like, now I get it. So,
You can see me?
we can now see you.
Well, say hello to your mother-in-law. Tell her like I'm doing well. I'm right now I live in Los Angeles, which is a great city. I am actually blending in quite well. I'm a vegan. I drive a Prius. And I'm trying as much as possible to become gluten sensitive. I can't get that.
To explain to our audience, you're in Egypt. You had your own show called The Show, which is...
So it started in 2011. We had a revolution, and at that time I was a heart surgeon. And when the revolution started, there were two realities. The reality on the streets, where I was one of many doctors who were working in makeshift clinic, suturing people, trying to fix wounds because I couldn't throw rocks because I tried once and it hit one of our protesters. So I had horrible aim. So I just stuck to fixing wounds instead of causing them. And then there was another reality that was happening on television, which was run with the state-run media, were telling everybody this was, a conspiracy. These were like spies. They were paid operatives. So when the revolution ended, I wanted to do like a YouTube videos showing people the kind of brainwashing that was practicing on the media. And I thought, I'll have like maybe a couple of thousand watching the videos. A couple of weeks in, I have 5 million people watching. And then, and I know that like at 2011 doesn't sound that much because right now your cat will get more than 5 million. But that was a big deal at that time. And then every single TV station wanted to get me on the channel to start the show there. And then I continued to be a TV person.
So everything was going well.
A lot of people liked it and a lot of people were offended. And then the authority definitely didn't like it. The Islamists persecuted me, the military persecuted me. There was a warrant for my arrest under the Muslim Brotherhood. I went there and I got interrogated for 6 hours, went out on bail. And then under the military, I had my show shut down a couple of times, satellite signal jammed a couple of times until I had to escape and leave the country. So that's my story in a nutshell.
In a weird way, is a sign of success as a satirist if you really upset the people that you set out to upset so much that you have to leave.
I was very successful.
I mean, and the thing it is worth noting, like before the revolution with Mubarak, he had a massive state apparatus. I mean, it's huge. The Mukhabarat, is that how it's pronounced?
The intelligence, and which are not intelligent. And but the thing is, this was the kind of media that were saying all of these horrible stuff about people in the streets. But when the Muslim Brotherhood came in, they used the same apparatus, but like, of course, they couldn't use it fully, and they kind of like got kicked out. But right now, it's like Mubarak seems to be a walk in the park next to what we're seeing right now in Egypt. But it's the same apparatus, but it is becoming more vicious.
Under El-Sisi.
Oh, we love Sisi. Of course we love Sisi.
He's a lovely man. But
yeah.
Well, he's there, though. So you upset all the powerful people in Egypt, so you decide to go to America, and you end up in Trump's America.
It's kind of like I feel that I'm a very bad omen. Wherever I go, dictatorship just spring out. So I don't know what will happen if I come to England.
To be honest, they're doing a really good job as it is. I wouldn't worry too much.
Like I crossed the Atlantic, suddenly there's Trump here and Farage, what's his name?
Oh, we don't like saying his name out loud. His name's Nigel Mirage.
Nigel Mirage.
He makes Fox News look bright. But
you should guys get like a taste of our media. So I'll give you an example for you. Mm-hmm. So you're all like complaining about fake news in America or, I don't know, Farage in England. But our news media and our authority convinced the people that they have found a cure for AIDS. And when I made fun of that on my show, I was accused of being a traitor because I made fun of the Holy Army, that the army could never do any bad. And even people on my own show, people on my own team, it's like, Bassem, what if they were right? It's like, guys, this is not true. But they couldn't believe that the army would lie to them. And this is how propaganda is formed. Mm-hmm. And this happened in Gambia. if you're following 2008 in Gambia, this is happening right now in North Korea. It seems that every dictatorship, whenever they are run out of ideas, they claim that they found a cure for AIDS.
Yeah, I suppose you've just got to keep getting bigger with your lies.
Yes, exactly. And they were like the kind of lies that they were doing in the media, not just about AIDS, but the whole thing about the conspiracy, about they hate us and they want to get us. The whole narrative of the world is against us has been the dominant narrative in the Egyptian media and the Arab media in general for decades. Everybody is against us. America hates us. Guys, you get like $1.3 billion of military aid from America. It's okay. They still hate us. It doesn't matter. And of course, if America is the biggest bully, England is the brain behind the bully. This is how it is, the narrative back in Egypt. It's crazy.
Can you see any possibility of you ever going back to Egypt and being able to do the show again?
Not in the near future. I was offered many times to go back, but I had to compromise. So I come back, we're going to drop anything against you, you can do the show, but just do simple comedy, social comedy. And I said, like, I can't do that. Or, all right, you can come in and make fun politics, but like we have to be an understanding. And I rejected that because I think comedy should be relatable to what's happening on people's life. And people's life is not just about traffic. If you have a country that's on the hot seat of politics, and then you come and you ignore this, and you nip on the stuff that doesn't matter, I think this is a betrayal to comedy. You betray the craft. Even though I'm a heart surgeon, I was not like a performer or a veteran comedian, but at least I know that this is what comedy should do. Comedy should address what's happening to people's daily life, including what's making their life force, which is, in our case, it's pretty much related to politics. If you ignore that, you're a sellout and you become a distraction, not a political satirist. And this is why I refuse to do it the way that they asked me to do. And unfortunately, no, real political comedy will not be allowed to exist under fascist regimes, because when you direct your satire to them, you take away the only thing that is going on for them, which is fake respect and fake fear. Without that, they have nothing else. And this is why they go actively behind people who make fun of them, because the military mind, they only just have the chain of command, the respect, the fear. They do not negotiate, they do not compromise, they do not accept criticism. And satire is the most subversive way of criticism, and they can't get that. They cannot deal with that. So no, I don't think this will happen in the near future.
Well, Fred, I think we're out of time. We have to run it.
Come on, I mean, like my previous colonizers. Come on, no.
Of all the guys they ever colonized, you were their favorite, dude.
I have utmost respect to British comedy. I was a huge fan of Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister, some of my favorite, I have to say. I think that British comedy is kind of a status of its own, kind of like a niche of its own. And when people aspire to say it's like, this is good comedy, it's like, it's always British, which is, I don't know, it's kind of an oxymoron, British and comedy, but I love it.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Bassem Youssef. Welcome to Wherever You Are was hosted by me, Andrew Maxwell, and the acts were Alice Fraser, Storm Shue, and Bassem Youssef. The producer was Ed Morrish, and it was a BBC Studios production.
Right, well, that was Andrew Maxwell's Welcome to Wherever You Are, and I'm happy to say Andrew is still with us here in the studio.
Yes, it was pretty fun, right?
It was so funny.
But it was, I mean, the audience in each of the records on all 4 episodes were so up for it, because it's a really novel idea. You know, you've got those comedians are in their home. It's all live. It's you know, it's really old school and quite exciting broadcasting, because, I mean, it depends on, you know, we had all sorts of link-up problems. Bassem, we had a massive technological hitch. We didn't know that he was going to be on.
And then he suddenly came on. And he was like clapping in the middle of something, and I thought, what's going on? And I realized it's when he'd come on. But what is the biggest technical glitch you've had doing this? Because in a way, even though it's modern day, it's quite a thing to get done on time and in a timely way.
Sure, we had Wi-Fi links and technical issues with Kasime Ann. She was coming live from Kampala in Uganda.
Oh.
And that was really frustrating because because she was funny, really funny. They call her Queen of Comedy in Africa.
Wow.
She gigs all over sub-Saharan Africa, and like I mean, you know, I'd never seen her before. There was only each episode was really a taster of each of these talents, but really funny bones.
Yeah.
Funny bones.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's just really exciting for the audience, you know, and the fact the comedians in their tiny little studios in their hometowns, they've got a screen. They can see
they can see them too.
They can see the London audience. The London audience could see them, and yeah,
that's really great. Here's something else. Is there something in comedy that comes up no matter where in the world the comedian is from? Is there anything in the sets that you find recurring?
Oh, God, I suppose.
Even a theme?
I guess it will be judged in a different way and it'll be taken a different way, but sex. It is something that is of so paramount to all of us and so profoundly mysterious. You know what I mean? So that there will always be there. But I've heard people go, oh, well, it's definitely mother jokes. And it really isn't. There's many societies that have really straightforward psychological relationships with their mothers.
Really, where?
Northern Europe. we really don't have.
Can I just jump in and say I'm married to a Dane? So we'll take since it's a public podcast, I'm not going to say anything. But that's what it seems like, doesn't it? Yeah, which is nice.
I've always found I've got a very, very honest, very straightforward and loving relationship with my mother. Yeah, I mean, so no, I think really it's sex and status and snobbery. Really, at its core, laughter is the positive expression of negative emotion.
Yeah.
So it's whatever people have on their minds.
Yeah, and sex seems to be right up there.
In every different way. Like, I don't just mean in a smutty way. It doesn't have to be a dirty set. It could be just, you know.
Which is great. I mean, of all the things you want people to have on their mind, something as simple, basic, and important and fun as sex. Hey,
yeah,
I like that answer.
I think so. I think, I mean, you know, it'll be addressed in some countries and cultures in a more coy way.
Sure.
And other countries in a more blunt way.
Well, I'm from India. You know, everything is, they show 3 flowers on the screen. When we were growing up on Bollywood, they'd show you 3 flowers. You'd be like, oh, people are kissing.
Right.
So here's something that I was thinking about. Broadly, political correctness. It's different in different countries and it's very contextual. But I'm starting to feel like in the US and here in the UK, to some extent, context is becoming redundant. You're either saying the right thing or the wrong thing. You're joking about the right thing or the wrong thing. And I think this takes away from comedy because, well, comedy is satire and it takes away from comedy. It also makes it quite boring. Any thoughts on this making the series? Because as we saw from this particular episode, there were things that Bassem was not supposed to joke about, but he did. And so, you know, who is to say what's right and wrong? I mean, it was the government. We agree with that the government shouldn't censor you. But, you know, in other contexts, there's this idea that there's just the right thing and the wrong thing. And you can't joke about the wrong thing. What do you think?
Well, sure. I mean, you know, some of our contributors are living, and in some cases, frankly, thriving in countries that are autocracies. They don't have rule of law as we'd imagine it. They're not liberal democracies. And it's beyond unwise. It's actively foolhardy to taunt the powers of the state in their given countries. Should they? Well, if they want to make a hero of themselves, maybe they should. But a lot of time, I don't think it should be necessarily on the onus of a comedian to be the one to go up against the powers of you know, one-party state systems. So where context is sort of bleached black and white is in social media. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Social media is an incredible place of where you can say almost nothing now.
Absolutely. That's a very good point, yeah.
You know, it can be something, there's plenty of topics that are extremely sensitive, but at the same time, multifaceted.
Yeah.
And that would be, again, coming back to sex, and a classic example, sexual harassment, this, you know, the Me Too movement. There's a lot of diverse voices and experiences that needs to go into the pot to come towards a conclusion, an answer to this social issue. But 140 characters, even you pump it up to 5,000 characters, isn't going to do it.
No, especially not in a world where the moment you say something, it's like, well, that's the, you know what I mean? It's like there's this crazy way of, I don't know how to explain it. Doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani, we say in India.
Oh, you've explained it perfectly.
Which means that when you cook milk in certain ways, the milk rises to one and the water in the milk goes down. So, things get separated at once, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
That was, why would I use that phrase? But anyway, I did.
Oh, why not?
And I feel like social media is like that,
Absolutely. I mean, live, on stage, people get it. And you can talk. I mean, I feel absolutely no need to censor myself in any way on stage.
No.
Not at all, because I trust in the audience that they will get where I'm coming from and my own facility to explain it to them.
Just before we go, I want to ask you, where else are you in the world, I should say? Are you performing at the moment? Can you tell us, or what's the deal? Or
what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm developing a couple of TV ideas right now for British TV. I just did Celebrity Mastermind. I can't tell you how that went.
Oh.
And then in February, I'll be doing a run at the Soho Theatre in London.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah, that'll be fun. And then in the spring, I'll be off hopefully to Sydney and Auckland.
You are going to be very busy.
I try and stay busy.
Well, thank you to Andrew for joining me here in the studio. And you can hear more episodes of Welcome to Wherever You Are on the BBC Radio 4 website or on the BBC Radio iPlayer app. And before I let you go, the hashtag Comedy of the Week, you know what to do. Let us know what you thought. Spread the word, subscribe, review. And just before you go, 3 little things to bear in mind. 4 hours west of Sydney is the wonderful city of Orange. Mandarins are one of the most tasty and user-friendly oranges in the world. And the first mobile phone operator in Egypt, founded on the 4th of March 1998, was Orange, Egypt. Thank you so much for listening to Comedy of the Week, and see you next week.